Saturday morning, everyone, and good morning. I'm Peter Boyles. This is Radio Free Denver, 710 KNUS. The weather, a record 90 degrees today. Tomorrow, Sunday, it goes down to 67, and then on Monday, back up 74 degrees. This is one of those mornings where there's so many things happening, and I got the absolute right guys in studio. Jonathan Flora is with me as always, and then we are still going to talk with Dr. Brian Joondeph. He has received an appointment from the Trump administration, but there are so many things happening, and he's great. He's been with me on the radio. How many years have we, let me punch up here, how many years have we done radio together?
Probably at least 10 years.
Has to be. And the great story, Jonathan, is it's back when Casey's producing the morning show, and we have this great guy on, this Dr. Joondeph guy who's writing. And I said to him, I said, I think I said to you, I said, well, where do you live? You said, down the street. And I didn't know that he's a local physician. In fact, he's an eye surgeon. And and then he started coming in, and many, many times he'd be sitting there with his, getting ready to go to surgery.
We were discussing the 2016 election.
That's right.
Talking about Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton.
That's
how
right.
It wouldn't have mattered. They're two heads of the same coin.
Yeah,
back in those days,
wow.
before Trump was even a serious contender.
He wasn't even on the screen.
So this was probably 2015.
Wow. Anyhow, but he's been a great friend, and he's been a wonderful guest, and all's well, and he's back with us. Jonathan, of course, everyone knows because of his wife.
I am her arm candy. Absolutely, I have no problem with that.
We hope we can get her in here next week and have her with us on the air. First of all, before we get into the meat, you've received an appointment.
Yes, I am a new appointee to the Clean Air Scientific Advisory Committee of the EPA.
How'd that happen?
Good question. I think, well, the committee requires there to be one physician on it.
Okay.
And when Trump came into office, he got rid of the previous committee. And similar to other federal committees,
sure.
Vaccine Advisory Committee,
sure.
et cetera,
right.
You have new leadership and new committees that are more aligned with the goals of the administration. And I'm part of the CO2 coalition because I've written a lot about climate change and CO2 and all of that, and they nominated me.
So do you know who did it on this end, or?
Through the CO2 coalition.
Okay.
And I was vetted. They knew about my writing and what I did for a living and all of that.
How were you told?
Well, I learned I was going through the process. I had to submit disclosures and answer questions, and then I didn't hear anything, and all of a sudden I got an email from the committee, and this was a week ago Monday. And they said, you're on it, congratulations. These are the other committee members, and don't say anything until there's a public announcement in a few days, but within a few hours there was a press release by Lee Zeldin, who runs the EPA, and that's when things got toasty.
I always call those things, it's how elephants make love. It happens all high up, makes a lot of noise, and then nothing happens for a long time.
Yes, that's for elephants. I don't know what their gestation period is. It's probably
longer
a couple of years. It's a long time. Longer than humans.
Longer than it took for you to get on a commission.
That's true. That's true. So, and then, the predictable media backlash, their New York Times.
Yeah, that's what I was first. New York Times. And when I read that article, all they could say was no experience, which obviously you have a ton of experience, and some comments you made in the past that were pro-Trump. That's all they've got.
What a surprise that somebody appointed to the Trump administration might be pro-Trump.
Oh, everybody,
I mean, that's sure. these. I'm a political appointee. I have no argument about that. But so what if I'm pro-Trump? I probably wouldn't be appointed to a similar committee in a Harris administration or a Newsom administration.
No, you wouldn't have.
So
have you ever been appointed to anything like that?
Nothing I talk about in public. No. No, nothing like this, and certainly not at this level. I mean, and with Lee Zeldin, the administrator, he's getting in there, knocking out some of the nonsense. Obviously,
Right,
prior groups.
I mean, clean air is a priority. We all want clean air, clean water. We live in this world, but it's a matter of balancing cost and the regulatory framework.
I was really happy to hear your name. Actually, Ellen called me and told me.
Your publicist.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
The PR.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, guess what happened? Okay. If I could quickly, I want to bounce this off you guys. And this is new to me, but I've been chasing it for 10 days, and it's legit. Using the greeting, Christ is King. Doctor, have you heard any of this?
I've heard a little bit. Ted Cruz was saying it was anti-Semitic, and I'm not quite sure where that comes from.
Now, have you?
I don't know where it comes from at all. When Jesus was crucified, they put a sign above the cross that said "King of the Jews," and he is the king, and he is Jewish. So I really don't know where this is coming from.
Well, glad you asked.
Where'd it come from, Peter?
We're all aware of what you're saying, Christ is King, but now, in fact, Jesus is Lord, Christ is Lord. Any time that goes on, now it's considered white nationalism. I'm serious about this.
Well, I'm not surprised. There was something in the news in the past day or two about, in the Biden administration, they were saying homemaking and sharing recipes, motherhood,
master bedroom
was white supremacy, and moms who have cooking blogs and share recipes are white supremacists.
I saw that,
and
I was reading
it's
this.
like, are you kidding?
And then they claim it was a mistake. Mistakes like that don't happen. No, it's purposeful.
What the meaning? I mean, you guys obviously the traditional definition. Is it racist or anti-Semitic? Let me pull up what we got. Of course it's not, but it has now been hijacked. And Marxism, as a person who studied Marx demands victimhood or demands an underclass or demands somebody be marginalized.
They need victims.
Yeah, precisely. So some far-right and white nationalist groups actually do it. They have abused the phrase. Far-right figures, Nick Fuentes is one of them, Christ is King, to attack Jews, often using it in and really being antagonizing people. The phrase has become a flashpoint when used in political context. This is all legit stuff. And it has nothing to do with anything I learned in church as a kid growing up, but it is now sometimes used as a slogan to assert Christian identity, extreme cases to spread intolerance. In summary, I'll read this. The phrase is central positive confession. It is currently used by extremists to express anti-Semitic sentiment. So saying Christ is King, now you point out Cruz comes out and says, don't say it. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, you're deeply religious. What are you going to do with that?
Well, and I can understand. Well, first of all, going back to Marx as well, and the left is very active in this, they redefine words. They create the definition to words. Sure. We need to get back to the original definition.
Sure. Words mean what I say they mean.
Exactly.
Is
just like
that's
your truth.
Orwellian. It
very much so.
You redefine language, you redefine history, and that's what it is. And you can't say otherwise, or you'll be punished.
Absolutely.
And the white extremists, and it goes back to the Klan days. So you can go back and say the left extremists when they would say Christ is King, and they would then perform an anti-racist act in the name of Christianity. That's wrong across the board. What I don't understand is how they're saying it's anti-Semitic, unless they're saying a very small group of people are saying it only applies to Christians, which is still Christ, but not the Jewish faith. And that, again, is just contortions that you got to be pretty flexible to try to make that stuff fit.
The identity movement that I'm too familiar with, because they were the people that took Alan's life, negated the fact that the historical Jesus was a Semite. They say no, he wasn't a Semite. Believe it or not, that's how they can get to that conclusion, and that that Jesus was a white guy. No, listen, believe me.
Well, it's like the caller last week that said the Great Flood proves that Jesus is pro-abortion.
Oh, I remember.
It's like,
Yeah,
please.
there was one for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc.
It's like you just got to get off that rabbit trail and get back to the topic.
Joondeph, I think, collects those.
Yeah, well, the fellow, what's his name, Tallarico in Texas.
Yes.
Jesus was transgender, and God is
Or better-
non-binary, and
Everybody
all
wore
sorts of
robes
stuff.
back then.
Yeah.
Or Jesus was homeless. But no, I mean, that's one of their next ones in saying that Jesus was homeless because they look at your eyes.
Yeah.
But
He
they do.
traveled a lot.
Yeah, well, no, but when the night flight when they leave and they had nowhere to live, but they were going into Egypt but now he's homeless.
Well,
And-
they were traveling, and
Yeah.
in those days you didn't have Days Inn and the Fairmont and the Four Seasons at every city. So, you camped out and you were technically homeless.
Yeah,
See?
you pull up a rock and there you are.
It's saying nonsense, and it's really to divide. I think that a lot of this, especially from Ted Cruz in that camp, I think ultimately they're trying to split the MAGA movement and get people fighting with each other, and you've got your Tucker Carlsons and Candace
What do you do?
Owens
What do you do with
and,
him? Yeah, well, she's one of the users of the term "you can't." Yeah, Christ is king.
It's creating a civil war within the Republican Party, so it fractures.
But
and
Candace
you
Owens is one of the points on this.
So it's differing viewpoints, and they're all fighting with each other. And what's that going to do to turnout in the midterms? People are going to say, "Oh, this party's so screwed up. It's like the GOP in Colorado." And
I was going to say
they're going to just stay home and not vote. And it's really to not destroy the Republican Party per se, but the Trump movement. Trump has a strong coalition, the MAGA, America First, call it what you want, but it's to split that. And you've got influencers coming out on both sides, and people are pro-Tucker, against Tucker, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, et cetera. And everybody's a lightning rod, and you either love them or hate them, and it's splitting the movement. And I think that's the ultimate purpose of all this.
Well, I know how Tucker fell from grace. Was in the lawsuit over the accuracy of the count that Rupert Murdoch demanded his head, and they gave it to him.
And then he went to evidently a different income source.
Yes, he did.
And it's not a good place.
We'll come back to that, but the next one that I really want to spend time with, Peter Boyles on the air everywhere. Dr. Brian Joondeph is with us, and of course the one, the only Jonathan Flora. We can do the major CBS News layoffs first. What do you do with that? I mean, she walked in those cuts on Friday morning, network news employees shuttering CBS News Radio after 100 years.
An ideological business plan can only carry you so far. At the end of the day, you've got to make money. You've got to stay in business.
You got to.
And being in the tank, the way the mainstream media, or legacy media, whatever they're called now, when their ratings continue to go down and down and down, at some point you got to say, maybe I am the chairman of this organization to make money for the shareholders.
Right.
And we'll see what they do. I mean, others have said that they're going to make an alternate path, and they still fall back into old habits. But she's cleaning the house.
Doctor?
At the end of the day, it's money. And CNN has been a loss leader for their parent organization, and that's why they were cut loose. And MSNBC changed their name to try to rebrand themselves. These are loss leaders, and the parent companies are happy to have that because these news cable stations or news organizations are pushing an agenda that aligns with the higher ups and what agenda they want pushed. But at some point, losing money is not a good business model, and they have to cut it. And legacy media is dying. I mean, I don't have cable. I don't watch network news. I don't watch cable news. There's so many other sources for good information, and people are tuning out. I don't know what the ratings are for CBS Evening News. Dan Bongino's podcast probably gets more listeners than CBS Evening News or 60 Minutes, and they put out garbage. There's a long history of CNN or CBS and 60 Minutes putting out bad stories. They had to retract, and Trump has been going after some of these organizations for lying about him. George Stephanopoulos saying that he was convicted of rape or whatever that was, and he wasn't, and he sued the network and won. And there's pushback now. People are not just taking it.
Yeah, and Disney has that on both fronts. The movies they've been putting out, even though the Academy Awards, you saw one Best Picture, nobody watched the Academy Awards again, last weekend. Oh. And then with ABC, they're making the same decisions. They've got to course correct.
The great line is the media doesn't, and I believe this, doesn't tell you what to think, but it does tell you what to think about. And I think that's true, whether it's this show or another talk show.
What you're saying is what they should do.
What
They are doing is telling you watch a CNN panel or something, or.
But that's not the news.
No,
that's what we're doing.
But it's a news show. It's not the news of when we were kids, where you had the 30-minute evening news on the big three networks and Walter Cronkite and I don't remember the other guys, Huntley and Brinkley.
Huntley, Brinkley.
And that was the news. It was a 30-minute update of what happened during that day, and that's where you got your news.
How many news shows can you actually list? Not opinion pieces. I mean, I'm talking Fox too. News
locally, because we're going to talk about what's going to happen locally here too. But what we do is talk radio. We do opinion radio. That's really what it is. Yeah. I mean, we've broken stories, the Ramseys or the airport or something, but it's always been my opinion. And
this is a talk show. This is discussion, and it's has a political flavor to it, but it's not news of just reporting the news.
Yeah, you're making the case that I made last night to friends. The news business has changed radically from the time frame, and I'm the old guy in the room, but it was John Cameron Swayze in the Camel Caravan, and he smoked a cigarette when he did the news, and I think it was a 15-minute cast, and I was delivering the Pittsburgh Press,
But people are getting their news from so many other places now.
That's what it is.
Twitter is huge, and the younger folks, my kids, they get their
comedy
news.
late night shows.
Yeah, they get their news from social media.
My grandson, unless it's sports, he doesn't watch television.
Right.
Unless it's a sporting event.
Let me throw this at you. You know what I think the first step on the slippery slope was? And everybody holds Walter Cronkite up as being the guy. Mm-hmm. For decades he was. But toward the end of the Vietnam War, when he ended one of his broadcasts with, "We are now in a war that I do not believe that we can win," that's the opinion of this humble reporter. He stopped being a journalist at that moment.
But
that's an opinion.
That was the opinion of the Pentagon Papers.
But he didn't quote it that way.
No,
he made that as his personal statement. That's where, at least for a moment,
he stood.
He stopped being a journalist and he gave his opinion.
And Halberstad's book, The Powers That Be, when he stood up, and he had never stood, and when he stood, and America went, Cronkite standing. But Richard Nixon, who had nothing to do with the Pentagon Papers, it was all about Johnson, and it was about. But the conclusion of the papers was, we can't win this.
Yeah.
And that's why Nixon wanted it suppressed.
Well, news would be, this is what the Pentagon Papers say, this is what defense analysts say, reporting that, not interjecting himself.
I'm still an Uncle Walter fan.
Of course.
He told the truth.
Of course.
He told the truth.
And he did at that moment as well.
Hang on. We're going to come back. This is 710 KNUS broadcasting live from the waterpros.net studio. Stay right here.
Your 710 5-day forecast this Saturday, very warm, even near summer-like. Highs in the upper 80s under a mostly sunny sky. Afternoon winds will get a little breezy, gusts around 30 miles an hour, especially in the foothills. A cold front will drop in late tonight, dropping us to the upper 40s. Some clouds for your Sunday, maybe a light shower in the foothills. High Sunday, middle and upper 60s with lows in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy to partly sunny for Monday, highs middle and upper 70s. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
loaded up. Great guests in studio. Radio Free Denver, 710 KNUS. 90 will be the high today, 67 on Sunday. Monday, 74 degrees. And the dental runaround, you go for a checkup, and then they send you across town for an extraction and someplace else for an Invisalign, and it's a waste of time. And when you want to get it done right, you want to get it done in one place, you need to see our friends, Twin Aspen Dental Center. Doctors Rick Snyder and Rich have built something really special in Parker. I'm a big fan. I've been going to Dr. Richter for the longest time. Comprehensive family care, everything from regular cleanings to big stuff, same-day crowns, dental implants, smile makeovers. They even handle same-day emergencies. So you're in pain, you've had an accident, they don't tell you for 2 or 3 weeks. They get you in. Nah, it hurts. Look, these guys get you in the next day. You don't have to have insurance. Don't let that stop you. Reduced fee membership plans that make quality care affordable again. Get the smile you want without a headache. TwinAspenDentalCenter.com. TwinAspenDentalCenter.com. Call them at 303-841-7466. 303-841-7466. Don't wait. Get it handled today. In studio, I mean, you talk about favorite people, Dr. Brian Joondeph and Jonathan Flora, and we're talking about all kinds of different things. We'll go to the calls in a moment, but I want to come back to now locally. And I listened to John Caldera coming into work, and I was on the end of his show. What now? And I think what will happen to Denver television now, Fox, Channel 2, Channel 9, they're all going to be under one roof. We've seen this before. This is what happened when KOA and KHOW and everybody went under one roof, and it was called iHeart, KBCO. And what they did was, and I lived it, but I think Caldera was saying that, there were, every one of those radio stations had a traffic person. That means when the commercials fit on the logs and what time they're supposed to run. Well, they eliminated everybody, and they had 2 people. There was a newsroom for almost each one of those stations. They eliminated it. They got rid of everybody, and they would have 2 or 3 people doing the news. They would be, and all under one boss, and under this boss was probably the finest man I've ever worked for, Lee Larson. So what do you think's going to happen now with look, you're Jonathan smiling. What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I hope a certain person's gone.
Well, yeah.
He stirs the pot and does not tell the truth, but that doesn't narrow it down to a lot of people. But, again, it's always who fills the chair later. And that remains to be seen.
I have a question for both of you. Sure. When will AI replace? When will AI be doing
there
your job,
Pete?
Doc, we got an AI we got an AI newscast going right now.
You can have AI in your voice, with your picture. So the picture on the screen could be you talking, but totally AI created.
We have our newscast is it noon? Our newscast at noon or 1 o'clock? Top of each hour is an AI cast now. There's no guy there. There's no person there.
Well, there can be a person. You've seen the videos probably on social media of Trump and Rubio ice dancing at the Olympics, and it's it's fake, but it's so realistic.
So what do you do with that?
Well, AI will do it, and whoever controls the AI and tells it what to say, then that's going to eliminate lots of jobs. You can have AI be a DJ, and you may not get the local flavor quite as you do with somebody like you, but they could do a pretty good job of it.
And then you heard about the whole Val Kilmer thing.
Yes, I saw
coming up in a movie. It just shows the flaw in all of this because, again, we're all replaceable. I think the only thing left for now is plumbers and electricians and things like that.
What I do is not yet, and you just did a commercial for dentists, so I don't know that AI is going to fill your cavity or put on a crown.
But you got to believe that technology is an inverse pyramid. It gets wider and better and higher. So what once was is, I would suspect the miracle of radio when I've listened to old guys talk about making crystal sets, wrapping wire as little boys to listen to radio stations. What was the first presidential? I think it was KDKA in Pittsburgh, and I think it was I might have been Coolidge or something, that they broadcast that. The first World Series was broadcast by the same group. Now, and if you know the history of it, why was pro wrestling so early on important? Because it was a one-camera shoot, and they had to encase those camera bases in cement. They couldn't do football. They could do baseball. And
What happens when an entire football game is created by AI? The players or movie? You can take an actor's voice and appearance, and you could remake any movie with totally AI.
If you can conceive it, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
I believe that. History
much
believes
faster,
that.
much
Yeah.
cheaper.
And it gets faster and
You
faster.
can do it
and
in a
quicker.
couple weeks for
You have no contract
$100,000.
negotiations.
Right. Not, $50 million movies that are over budget and nobody goes to watch.
And even with Val Kilmer, it takes away from the magic of movie making. Because I'm sure they're going to compile all the roles that he's ever done, all the roles of other people that fit the character that he's doing. But it takes away that magical moment on the set with the director where an actor has that inspiration. How many consumers really know that, and how many people just know it from the inside? At the end of the day, if you're entertained, you're entertained. And we all know Hollywood kind of lacks in a morality and soul. So if they're going to put all these people out of business like they tried to do with the dwarfs recently, Disney, and how that backfired, they'll just keep improving it to where nobody will notice.
Did you guys ever read Huxley when you were younger, coming up in Brave New World?
Long time ago.
And in the end, he goes and plugs in the movie, and he's the cowboy. And I remember reading that, 1960, 1959. Now it's doable.
Well, you have a movie on demand. You want to watch the Titanic with a different ending?
Yeah.
Hey, I could do that. Why
Sure.
not?
Yeah. So
Jack lives.
So they swerve at the last moment.
They miss the
Movie's
iceberg, and Rose and Jack float off and
let me read
end up in the Bahamas.
Let me read all of these, and then we'll go to the phones. Peter, there are several videos out there that show anchors on 24 or more different news stations saying exactly the same words, and also it goes on from there. CBS News tanked after Bari Weiss. And pivoted to right-wing content, alienating the core audience. For the reason for the cuts is not that it didn't make money, its operating cash flows were positive. Next one. Why would anyone greet anyone saying Christ is King as opposed to saying, hello, how are you doing? That wasn't the point of it. The point of it was you can't say it, taking it away. Next one. Just ask this guy who won the 2020 election, please. Bet you won't. I just did. Let's go to the phones. Don, you're on the show with the fellas. We should make this a regular roundup on this show, the three of us. Hey, Don, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that you said in the media. And I mean, certain music radio formats, they're definitely going to be using some AI and maybe and fewer local talents, definitely for sure. I mean, news talk radio, it has to be selective when to use AI and when to use people, especially when it comes to commentary, because AI cannot do everything.
What can't?
Definitely
not yet, at least.
That's
Exactly.
the point.
2 years ago, AI couldn't do what it's doing today, if you asked
A
anybody.
year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever tried to create some of those songs?
I haven't, but
it's ridiculous. I mean, you just put in your own lyrics, how you want somebody to sing. Now, you don't say, I want it to sound like so-and-so because I've got an issue with that. But you can put songs in there, your own lyrics. They come back and I go, man, I would listen to this on the radio. Yeah. I would see this band in concert.
How,
it's frightening.
It can write poetry. It can write whatever. It can write commentary.
Correct.
It could write a novel. Tell it what you want it to write, and it will. What kind of theme, what sort of slant, etc.
And that's how Mandy Connell created her current theme for her talk show, using that. And now she wants to update that using real people with her company's human campaign.
I didn't. That theme, Mandy's theme is an AI theme. Mm-hmm. I didn't know.
Yes,
that. I didn't know that. Well, there.
I also want to talk about a little bit about CBS News definitely ending their radio thing. I've been looking at social media, and all the people that are complaining about it, oh, Murrow's turning in his grave, Cronkite's turning in his grave. Well, yeah, perhaps, but not for the reasons that we think. But look, I mean, the fans of CBS News, or at least defending the institution of it, are basically people that are Democrats. They tend to be liberal to left, and they support the Democratic Party, and it reconverses their worldview. I mean, but the question is, are they really watching it, or just feeling that it was part of the whole legacy media alliance to make change and all of that? I mean, right now, David Muir's popular in the evening news.
Don, when you say that, remember that the corporates themselves were held by very conservative men. When it got down to, for instance, when Dan Rather was going to say, they call it taking the chair, when he was going to take the chair from Cronkite, the affiliates did not want him having that job because
we discussed this before,
because of Nixon. And
yes,
go ahead.
We discussed that before, yeah, and I'm with you, and Dan Rather took that chair, and gradually, but not overnight, CBS News was losing its muscle and towards Peter Jennings and Tom Brokaw, and ultimately that basically helped ABC News, World News Tonight.
But the fight to give him the chair, and Cronkite wanted out. It was over, and I'm a Cronkite fan. He's a very brave man, and it was over, and he was stepping aside. And remember, Nixon was hounded by Rather. Rather actually traveled. Was he in Houston? I think he was, when he said, "What are you running from, Mr. Rather?" And Rather retorted, "What are you running from, Mr. Nixon?" And I think they were in a press conference in Houston.
And but make no mistake, Cronkite did help Rather. I mean, from the anchor desk, and Rather did it out on the field.
Rather won in Chicago in '68 when he was on the floor with that backpack on, and Daley's guys roughed him up on the floor. And the street was on fire, and Daley had set the cops on the demonstrators, and the so-called Days of Rage, and all of that stuff was going on in the country. That Rather kind of made his bones there. From
Correct.
Not the new left, but the anti-war establishment fell in love with Dan Rather on the floors of Chicago Convention.
But that planted the seeds for the new left, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the new left that people, there's an old left. You guys jump into this, but the new left really comes out of the Panther Party and the Weathermen and those people. That's the new left.
The interesting of Dan Rather was the National Guard documents and George W. Bush.
That's right.
And his partisanship got the best of him, and he went from
he did not
being
follow the rules.
a journalist to being an attack dog, and it backfired on him because those allegations were false.
And also, when he yelled out the window of the car, "What frequency?" Remember all that kind of stuff.
Oh, what's the frequency, Kenneth?
Yeah, he was slipping.
REM made a song
the
about
REM
that.
song.
He was slipping. But
Inspired the REM song.
Yeah, but when you see him later, when he sits down with the Southern bands, and he's with Greg Allman, and he's with those, and he does really well. But
I've watched some of those. He has this. He interviews rock and rollers, aging rock and rollers, and those are really good interviews because he asks good questions.
He landed
on
his feet after CBS News.
But he had flushed himself. I mean, what both of the guests are saying, what Dr. Joondeph is saying, is true. Rather lost his load, and it was self-evident. And then these younger guys, Jennings was coming on, and then Jennings blows up, and it's a different world.
Well, they're supposed to inform, just like the late night shows are supposed to entertain. Think of Johnny Carson. He took shots at everybody, but in a good-natured way. And now you look at Colbert and these guys that are just partisan hacks. They are filled with vitriol and hate and just go after. their political opponents.
And what kind of number?
But while Johnny Carson may have been a good entertainer, he had his quirks, and he constantly brought in Paul Ehrlich, who did the population bomb. We just lost him last week or this week.
But Carson, I'm a Carson fan. Carson made it clear, unless he took a running shot at Reagan or something like that, he wasn't political. He stayed out of politics.
He really did.
I agree. I mean, for the most part, yes, he meant to be funny. All I'm saying is, once in a while, he got into it.
I got the music.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you. Everybody hang on. 303-696-1971. Fellas are here. The jiu-jitsu players are coming up. 710 KNUS Denver's talk station. going to have the guys until 11. So all works out. The jiu-jitsu players will be here with us at 11 o'clock. I'm Peter Boyles. This is Radio Free Denver Saturday morning. 90 will be the high. Watch out. 67 on Sunday, and on Monday, 74 degrees. 303-696-1971. Let's see, the lines are open. I'll read some things from the wall, and the guys will stay. Dan Kaplis Law, and if you want a case to be taken seriously, you should choose a firm that's taken seriously, and Danny is taken seriously. Kaplis Law, the real law firm that loves the truth. When the insurance carriers don't want to pay, Danny's there for you. Dan came to my family, helped us, and I'll never be able to say thank you enough. Dan Kaplis Law, the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 11 straight seven-figure jury verdicts, including a record $205 million jury verdict, a wrongful death case, and it was the largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. They accept righteous injury and death cases on a percentage fee basis. There's no upfront fees. There's no charge. There's no, again, for the initial consultation. You need something answered, call the man. Dan Kaplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. They accept righteous injury and death cases on a percentage fee basis. No upfront fees, no charge for initial consultation. Danny came to my family and helped. Dan Kaplis Law, offices now in Denver, Greeley, Loveland, Fort Collins. If you want your case to be taken seriously, call Dan at 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. Dan at CAPLISlaw.com. In studio, the one, the only, Dr. Brian Joondeph, my partner, Jonathan Flora. Let me read this. Let's see. Oil facts. I don't know. All right. I also wanted to say, but ran out of time, the old regulations of television don't work anymore. The news media is competing with so many other sources. This is probably one reason why you will see 9 News and Fox 31 News becoming something else. Fellas, anything?
Well, what I like, and I'm perfectly fine with, when it says traditional news sources are competing with so many other available outlets. Get better. Just get better.
Yeah.
Competition is what makes the world go round. But when your news sources, because they're quoting a Twitter feed of some guy that went on a rant because he's got too much time on his hands, that becomes a news article. Just get better at what you do, and the followers will find you.
That's correct. The competition is good, and as there are more options out there, the better ones will rise to the top, and that's what people will watch and listen to and tune out the garbage.
Hey, Pete, thanks for reading my text on who won the 2020 election, but you did not let him answer. Way to skip the real truth. Fellas, you know what I think, so what do you think?
Who sat in the office for 4 years?
Well, he was declared elected president. There's a lot of questions I have about the election and shutting down counting at 10 o'clock, and the next morning the leads had changed in a bunch of swing states and selected counties. I don't think there's been a good accounting. And if you look at public surveys, Rasmussen's done surveys, and majority of likely voters believe there's cheating in the election.
Yes,
so
yeah.
when that many people are skeptical, those running the elections need to reassure people. This is fundamental to our country, that elections are trustworthy. And you can argue over who won and what happened, but people don't trust it. So something's wrong.
That was one of the roles that talk radio played in being self-destructive, that it taught people and it tried to teach people that the election was stolen without any evidence, without ever winning a court, without even being allowed in, being kicked out 54 times by paying money. Yeah, of course, because as I mentioned before, Marshall McLuhan said, the media doesn't tell you what to think, but it certainly tells you what to think about. And what happened to talk radio was a number of these people who staked out that position. There were people who left listening to talk radio for that reason. And one of the things that I say all the time, there's 2 things that will I don't think the Republicans will win Colorado, not because it's stolen from them. It's because the candidates.
And here's a unique idea. Let's move forward.
Sure.
Let's actually have people show an ID when they vote.
Absolutely.
See,
I'm in favor of all of
There's things
that.
we can do. Well, a huge, vast majority of all Americans across the political spectrum are in favor of that, but yet the Democrats are still fighting it.
Well, I mean,
the Democrats don't want ICE agents anywhere near polling places. Well, if I showed up to a poll, I don't care if there's an ICE agent there. That speaks volumes of why they don't. So the whole system is it's broken, and it's people don't trust it. And when Americans don't trust it, we got a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that tried to overthrow the Constitution of this country.
Well, they do that
all the
Barack
time.
Obama overthrew the Constitution by spying on his political
His
opponents.
greatest line.
One doesn't make the other right.
No, but it's.
Obama was so clear when he said the problem with the Constitution is it's too restrictive.
Yes, I know, but that doesn't.
That's wonderful. That's the beauty of it.
People need to trust elections. They need to trust the health authorities. We were lied to about COVID on so many fronts, and people have lost trust. And once upon a time, government pronouncements were trusted by the majority. There were always people that were skeptical, but now majority don't believe anything they hear. What kind of country is that? That's anarchy.
Well,
that's chaos.
But it comes from people telling you that nothing's true.
Well, it's also people coming saying the elections are perfectly, safe and COVID vaccine is safe and effective.
No, for people that are telling you that the Vietnam War was right, that the war in the Gulf was right. I mean, people come to conclusions. When I was a little boy, and I've been writing about this stuff, I thought that Dwight Eisenhower was a grandfather that I never knew, that was in Washington, D.C., and he was keeping the commies off of me. I actually believed all of that stuff. And later to find out what. Peter, why aren't Republicans skeptical when they win? So this one, and Republicans won't win Colorado because of the infighting. That goes back over. I don't know. That's just, the rest of it is just more the same. But we don't trust.
We don't trust our institutions. We don't trust the media. We don't trust what we hear on radio or TV. There's a lack of trust because if you've been lied to and given half-truths and obfuscation over and over and over,
yes,
and people just tune out and say it's all nonsense.
Well, when you see Chuck Schumer chanting Jim Crow 2.0, and then you watch the video of him a while ago, fully in favor of showing an ID and giving all the same reasons as we do now to show it. When a guy has no moorings or grounding of his principles, how do you trust someone like that?
All the politicians. A decade ago, they were against illegal immigration, and they're all on record. Hillary Clinton and Obama and everybody. The Baker-Carter Commission talked about the dangers of absentee ballots and mail-in voting and all of that. Everything is memory hole.
I agree with all of it. But that doesn't, when Rupert Murdoch pays, and Rupert Murdoch, I just finished a new book on Rupert. Rupert could take the three of us to school real quick. And he paid $887 million and would have paid $1 billion had he gone into court, but he settled on the courthouse steps in Delaware.
Well, he didn't have a case. He was going to lose. I don't know what he believed in his own mind, but it comes down to a financial decision of the lawyers advise me you're going to lose. It's going to cost you this. You can pay 20% less now, or roll the dice.
Why was he going to
pay? It.
Why was he going to pay? Because his people did not tell the truth on the air.
Well, you got to prove that. There hasn't been.
No, they have to prove that they did tell the truth.
Well, if you're accused, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Then why did they pay?
Because that was the business choice.
No, because they didn't have the goods, they didn't have the receipts, they didn't have the evidence, they didn't have the paperwork to say here's the truth.
And again, when it goes down to the media stopped being the watchdog and became the guard dog or
I'm
anti-dog.
not defending the media.
No. I'm saying that, and when they became opinion instead of news journalists, that's it.
Agree again.
I'm just restating.
The guys will continue on the other side. Stay here, 710 KNUS.